Marlborough Poetry Festival for 15 years. Dean's a joy, and so are his poems, unpretentious, painful, funny, and truthful. That's my introduction. So you're introduced, Dean. Where are you? Oh, there you are, Pablo Neruda.
Well, am I muted? I'm not. Am I? No. Okay. Yeah, I'm actually. I've fallen into working out how to do Zoom, and I've got into backdrops. So I've actually got. I can choose where I'm reading from. This is Pablo Neruda's Front Room, which. I don't know, why would I miss the opportunity to read from Pablo Neruda's Front Room? Actually, the first time Michael met me, I sent a poem right at the beginning. It was the first time I ever got published in one of his magazine, Smith's Knoll, and I was using a pen name of Devon Parkin. That's right, because I also write local history books, and I thought I'll go between the two, Dean and Devon. And when I first met him, he said, "Oh, you're Devan Parkin." I thought, I don't want to be called Devan Parkin, so I quickly went back to Devon. Dean, that's my name, sorry. Anyway, so now, yeah, it's a really wonderful to read with Michael and Naomi. And they're the kind of the reasons why I am a poet, I think, really, through the Horseman Poetry Festival, which I was lucky to work for. And when you start off as a poet, people say, write about what you know, and you think, well, what do I know? I come from a small rural county on the edge of nowhere. Lived in a small town all my life, never escaped. And then you think, what do I know? Oh yeah, my dad did run a plastics factory, and my mother we had a swan machine in our kitchen. Actually, this is a swan. This is the sort of thing he made. These are wonderful items that made in the last century that will outlive us all forever. They'll be bouncing around the world. These are solid plastic, and he sold lots of these beautiful things to Holland particularly. And what happens is, my mother used to drill the holes in them, and you fill them with earth, and crocuses come out there, and they look lovely, and they're worth at least several pence on eBay now. And so,
can I interrupt you for just a moment?
Sorry.
I want to let everyone know that I'm recording each of the 3 featured readers, and your picture may appear in the recording. So if you don't want that, you can just turn off your camera. Sorry to interrupt. Please.
That's fine. That's fine. So I wrote this poem called "The Swan Machine." My mother used to drill these, and I actually got a picture of her. There we are. That's my mother's. Oh, there it is. There's a swan machine there, and I shall read the poem with the swan machine behind me, because I can. So the swan machine lived in the kitchen, next to the fridge, 2 feet high, a black frame with a motor and drill for making 6 holes in swans, 3 each side, for daffodils to grow through. The plastic shavings flew everywhere. My mother drilled and turned up the radio. We kept the kitchen door shut. My father stocked the garage with black sacks, the occasional beak pecking through. My mother drilled. Each time she switched on, the living room lights would flicker. When we heard the drill skid and snarl, the machine would stop, and we knew she'd missed a hole and hoped it was a swan that had taken the gouge. She sat on one of our dining room chairs, covered so it wouldn't spoil. For comfort, there was a length of foam for her to rest her elbows on as she held the swan up to the drill. And she swore when the dog wanted to be let out, let back in. Bloody dog! The motor was slow to start, rising to a whir through the house, and she drilled to get cash from my father, who gave her more swans and arthritis. What's that, my friends would ask, when the buzzing interfered with tomorrow's world? That's my mother, I would say, proud to have a swan machine in the house. Okay, I should have also said that Tomorrow's World was a television, a futuristic television show in the UK. It's quite funny because as you look up, you see people It's really odd. In kind of like, I haven't seen Lisa for ages. It's nice to see you, Lisa. And it's kind of, there's Lisa and there's some of these, and it's all these weird, you think, oh, it's weird sort of dreamlike concept. And thanks to Don, we've kind of borrowed, we've borrowed your kind of wonderful poetry series here. It's a brilliant idea. So I'm going to read, this is Write About What You Know again. This is a very English thing, or British thing, wherever we are. And it's about, you can't get any more British than a fish and chip shop. When I went to New York once, I've got a friend there called Ron Egat's a poet, and he took me to a fish and chip shop in New York. He said, this is really authentic. And I had to pretend I liked it, but it wasn't patch on our fish and chips. Anyway, so this is like, my dad was a great fish and chip shop goer-tour, if that's a word, a chip shop participant. I don't know what you call someone who goes to a chip shop. So this is a short poem actually called, it's about a lifetime spent in a fish and chip shop queue. In line, waiting what seems like forever for chips to fry, he sees himself all the way down the line. Just a boy with a fist of coins, eye level to the counter. Jack the lad, ordering for two, hungry for the evening ahead. The family man with complications, 2 large portions, 3 small, 2 with fish, but 1 without, always without something. Then retired, knowing what to expect, wrapped up in yesterday's news. What happens next? Somebody pays, and we all move 1 step forward, catching the draft from the door as they go. Right, thank you. Now, I'm actually, during the last few years, like I said, I come from a very rural part of England, which is not known for its cultural wonders. And so I'm really a peasant poet. And what are you doing? So I'm getting a message through at the moment. Your backdrop, my backdrop is apparently not the right backdrop. I know, I'm getting there. This is the backdrop. This is my great grandfather, and I came across this a few years ago. And he was, I'm a peasant poet. I said a rural county, and we didn't go to university, that sort of thing. And so there is a tradition. Nice thing is about poetry is that, what I'm trying to say is that it welcomes everybody, really. I love the fact in America you've got like poets, you've got the factory poet Fred Voss, and the nice thing about them is that there are, a lot of poets come from universities, that sort of thing, but it's a really welcoming kind of art form, and the more poets we've got from different walks of life, the better it is, really. And so that's a nice thing about it. So this is my great grandfather. He's born 100 years exactly. More or less to the day before me. He was born 1869, and he was a head horseman, which was the coolest job in the village. And through Ancestry.com, I found all this stuff about him, and it feels like one of those. It's a really lovely story. So yeah, this is called Head Horseman for my great grandfather. Not the stern family portrait with Alice, his church-going wife, and 4 children. The other photo, just him with the Shire horse, is as close as I'll get to his smile. We know that she was trouble, an accident, a man killed, enough so that a picture of this mare at ease was something rare, worth catching. He was the only one who could handle her. John William Wilson, father unknown, mother Mary Ann, a milkmaid, dead at 25, brought up by his grandfather who died, his uncle who died, his aunt who remarried a thief who was jailed. From bare-knuckle boxer to head horseman, a man of few words, but we do know his last from his sickbed, growled at the parson, sent for by his wife. I don't want to see no sky pilot. 30 years a widow, she never spoke of him. With him gone, though, they could do nothing with the horse but sell her. It was something about his calm hand on the bridle the other gentle on the shoulder that steadied her down. So I like that. I don't want to see no sky pilot. That was done in an authentic Suffolk accent there, because it's not widely known as a cultural phenomenon. And I like the fact that he'd have said this about 1923, and sky pilot was obviously you know, putting down the local vicar. I like the fact that I like the fact of describing it like a sky pilot before we had sky pilots. Anyway, so now how are we doing for time? Okay, I read. This is I'll read 3 more. This is a poem. I'm going to change I'm going to go back to Pablo Neruda now. There we go. That's better. So this is actually a poem about something that happened to me when I got on a train, and that's all I'm going to say really. It's about, well, I got on a train and came across this bloke sat with a lemon tree. I thought that's a brilliant idea for a poem. It's called Lemon Tree, 3 feet tall, to be carried across London, with a single sample of full-grown fruit that hangs precarious from its lowest branch. Yellowing hand grenade, solo bauble, dangly earring, citric scrotum. An only child sleeping, rocking that slender stem. On the 15:23, they'll arrive right on time for rush hour, dumped on platform 9 to navigate the station, the jostle, the tube, down escalators and up eventually to the street, and taxi, taxi. All that lies ahead, but I have got this far, the safety of the train. And the tree is healthy, perky, leaves not shedding. An unlikely tourist then, natural and strange, among the plastic and vinyl of the carriage. Next to the tree, the right man for the task, confident, nonchalant, young enough, he thumbs a paperback. The stalk is sturdy, he must think. I want him to get home tall, cargo intact, not pathetic and explaining, this was on there like that. I want him to get there, please. Whether it be mother or lover, she hears the gate, expecting him, of course. Surprised, therefore, by the bell, by what he brings. For you, he says, this tree and lemon he knew she would love. Okay. I actually went over to the bloke at the end and said to him, nice lemon tree, mate, because you don't get a chance to say that. And I said, where are you taking it to, by the way? He said, that's for my mum. So that's quite nice. Being Mother's Day in America, that's a perfect poem. A short poem. This is about a sweet, which I know it's a little bit available in America. It's Murray Mint, and they sort of got replaced by Werther's Originals. I know you've got them in America, but they were quite big in. You can still get them in airports, but they had this advertising slogan that went Murray Mints, too good to hurry mints. It's probably why they aren't around much now. Anyway, so this is a very short poem called Sweet Offer, and this actually happened to me with a woman who worked for the Poetry Festival called Jane Anderson, who sadly died last year. So this is for her. Sweet Offer. Do you want a Murray Mint? I ask. Not the best place. The beach, at night in November. Bracing, you call it. Wind smattered with rain, as deep in my pocket, my fingers recover one of last summer's half-melted sweets. Further down the shore, you tell me what you thought I'd said. Do you want to marry me? How I continued, it might be a bit sticky. And then, I'm not selling this to you, am I? As I fudged in my jacket for the something I held out and pressed into your palm. Right. So that was a quiet moment. Jane was married or kind of had a partner already. I did know that. We just had a quiet 5 minutes on the beach, and then she told me what she thought I'd said. Anyway, so thank you for listening. This is the final poem. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Don, for having me. A man sets off early for work, with every good intention, and parking his car catches his thumb in the door handle so it feels like the nail has been prized up from its bed. He walks away, briefcase in one hand, the other hand raised, thumb held up in disbelief as he waits at the curb's edge. A white sports car pulls up, the window slides down, and a woman asks where he is thumbing a lift to. "Go away," he mumbles, words half lost in his throat. And she, catching only the away part, opens the door, and the man, given the choice, gets in. He looks at her, this woman whom he would describe as plain if asked. As she asks him his name, he decides to stop this, to get out, to go back. "Can I explain?" he says. But at that moment, the woman changes gear, and the word explain is drowned beneath the thrum of the engine, and she only hears "can I," which she takes as Kenny. Assuming a new name, being driven without an idea of destination, the man wonders about his wife, conjures up her face, wants to tell her how much he loves her. "I love you," he says, out loud for the first time since he can remember. And the woman swerves, then slows down, pulls into a lay-by and says, "We've only just met and this is crazy. But I feel the same way too." "Stop," he thinks, but is now too frightened to open his mouth. So says nothing as she kisses him and kisses him again and tells him all about the pain he has suffered in life. Does he know about pain? He nods as he remembers his thumb. Thank you.